What a night for the goalkeepers in the match day 2 of the UEFA Champions League, especially to name them Jan Sommer, Rupsi, Riznik, and Gregor Kobel. These goalkeepers are doing amazing saves. Only 13 goals were scored in the second match day of the UEFA Champions League. What? In the first day, that was 28 goals, and on the second day, it's 13? These goalkeepers are doing an amazing job. Man City fans and the Etihad were frustrated by the Champions League performance of the men in blue, their opener against Inter on Wednesday. But Pep Guardiola still enjoyed the game and he is confident against Arsenal despite the injury to Kevin De Bruyne. What is Pep cooking at Etihad? Hello guys, welcome back to another stream with FC RAMSAY where we are talking about the match day 2 of the UEFA Champions League, and the most criminal and the most lethal part of football is that 22 men chase the ball for 90 minutes and the team scoring, winning and getting the shield is the winner, is the leader, and all other things are just simply theory. Pep Guardiola's men are frustrated, but we will talk about it a bit later. First, let me come to the match between Paris Saint-Germain and Girona, where PSG were playing home against Girona, but Girona seemed set to claim an eye-catching point on their Champions League debut, but Paris Saint-Germain, they can't steal that goal. The absence of Kylian Mbappe, the absence of some injuries in the team was quite evident. Lucas Hernandez was injured. Donnarumma is on a thigh injury. Kimpembe, Gonzalo Ramos are injured. But then also PSG under Luis Enrique, that own goal from Girona just made it look so easy for PSG to get a convincing one goal lead in their first opening of the UEFA Champions League match day. Talking about next, Club Brugge against Borussia Dortmund. Brugge were playing home against Dortmund. Dortmund were not looking that lethal. This is the deficiency of Dortmund, which has been seen quite many times in the past years. But Nuri Sahin, in his debut with Dortmund in the Champions League, really did well. And the performance of Jamie Gettin, the young English forward, he is scoring twice after getting the super sub. He is the super sub kid in the block for Dortmund. Guirassy scoring a penalty in the 95th minute and taking Borussia Dortmund to a 3-goal lead against Club Brugge. Talking about Gregor Kobel, he had a decent performance with the defense lineup of Sule, Ryerson, Schlotterbeck, and Besnabani. So Ademi in this wing forwards, Sabitzer, Brandt, Malin was there, but the main aspect was that Dortmund didn't had Raina in their midfield. That was where Nuri Sahin must be critical about. He had to play the likes of Emre Can and Gross in the midfield. Then also Dortmund was expected to win. The odds were quite high against them and they had a decent game and they got all the 3 points away. The next aspect being Sparta Prague against Salzburg. Salzburg had a humiliating defeat and Prague just crushed Salzburg to get a 3-goal victory against them. And what a start of campaign for them in the UEFA Champions League. This game had some assists of Olatunji, Harsalin and Brimonosevic in the forwards of Sparta Prague under Laris Paris. But Pep Blinders, he must be thinking that after Liverpool's assistant job, which he had done for so long, how could Salzburg not get a goal on it? I mean, Landers must be thinking that he is the one, he needs those Liverpool moments back at Salzburg if he is going to do any convincing job in the Champions League. Expectations are there for Salzburg. This was their away game, but they lost it by a 3-0 margin is quite high. So this was all about Sparta Prague playing against Salzburg. But the most exciting thing is that Manchester City couldn't take away a single point at Etihad. What is Pep Guardiola cooking? Is this the end of Pep Guardiola? Pep Guardiola has not made any perfect signings for this summer transfers, where only Gundogan and Ikerevi have been signed from River Plate and Barcelona. The players who have been out of the club are Cancelo on a permanent basis, Cabore, Stanvovic, Kakic, and Merones, some junior players. Calvin Phillips have also departed, with the departure of Julian Alvarez also on the list. But there is a contract extension of Stefan Ortega, and only Oscar Bob has been given the extension. So, here City not having a plan for the future, the last year of Pep Guardiola, some tactical formation changes in the formation of Guardiola's Etihad's Team Blue. But what went wrong? Was Guardiola wrong against Simone Inzaghi? Was the substitutions of Jeremy Doku or the substitutions of Phil Foden or Ike Gundogan into the second half were not at the proper time, or the gameplay which Manchester City were playing against Inter was where the players quite new to this formation and they didn't had that much of training, because it was quite evident that Man City players were playing in a new tactical formation of 3-2-4-1. Just have a look what City were cooking against Inter. Talking about this, if you say City were playing a formation of 3-2-4-1 and Inter on the formation of 3-5-2 under Simeone Inzaghi, the performance of Jan Sommer as a goalkeeper, the Swiss goalkeeper who has officially retired from the nationals but is playing in the club, in the professional clubs for Inter Milan. What a performance! I mean, those amazing saves from Jan Sommer were undiscriminately the most effort by him in his job. The roles of Acerbi and Bisek along with Bastoni, you can see the three defense lineup, but most of the times Acerbi was seen moving towards the central defense midfield part, and either Barella or Calhanoglu or Zelinski were moving in the defense lineup and making it a vast five, because City, with the attacks of De Bruyne, Silva, Grealish, and Savino in the starting lineup, were trying to outnumber Inter Milan just in their own half. So just look at these stats, guys. If we talk about the perfect stats, what was happening at City, the thing is the outnumbering of De Bruyne's, Silva's, Grealish, Savino's, Guardiola's men with Haaland as the striker, they were trying to outnumber Inter only in this part. All the goal scoring chances of City have been inside the penalty box of the Inter Milan. See, football is a game where maximum chances of scoring are there if you are near the penalty box. If you are trying to score from the wings, then it comes as a header or a through ball or an assist. But the aspect which I couldn't understand is that the gameplay of Guardiola, Ruben Diaz, and Akanji, Manuel Akanji was chosen at the center back, whereas Rodri was not staying quite high in the attacking parts in the first half, especially for Manchester City. Like taking a to look at the substitutes, the first half went quite well for Guardiola. They were looking quite possessive, but the substitutions which City made was Gundogan in place of De Bruyne and Phil Foden was substituted in place of Savino. But Jeremy Doku coming at the 80th minute, was City looking for some kind of gameplay changes, or they were not getting that adaptive to this new style of play where their midfields, the wing midfields, were the central areas where City was focusing, and from the other wing, the other corners, some players were accumulating in the defense of Inter Milan for outnumbering them in their own penalty box. And City really succeeded in doing this. They outnumbered them, they got those clear chances, they had those clear shots which can be seen. talking about that, we will come later. But talking about these substitutions where Mkhitaryan, Martinez, Pavard, and Dumfries were substituted, the absence of a few players of Inter Milan were quite, I mean, this was a matter of concern for Simone Inzaghi because Arnautovic, the Champions League scorer for Inter, was injured and he is on off for a few days with Buchanan as well as DiMarco. DiMarco had a good performance in the UEFA Nations League just a few weeks back. He was in good form, but he was there in injuries. Whereas City only having the injuries of Nathan Ake and Oscar Bob in their squad. But the injury of Kevin De Bruyne next for the Arsenal will be quite concerning for Guardiola, but he has denied that he won't be much concerned about it. The next aspect which we will be talking over here is the stats. Just have a look at it, guys. If we go straight into the scoring chances, where Haaland had the first shot in the 4th minute, the next came for Thuram. Inter were also giving a counter in the 6th minutes. The next came again from Thuram in the 16th minutes. Similarly, Calhanoglu, Haaland again Calhanoglu, Acerbi, Savino, De Bruyne. So many chances for both the teams came continuously. But the most amazing thing is that just look at the shots which were taken by all the players. Here, this blue represents the Inter Milan goal scoring chances against Man City, and this light blue is representing Man City against Inter Milan. So, just have a look at the cluster. City were always trying to outnumber the Inter Milan defense with inside their penalty box. This is what the concern was. There is no from the wings, there is nowhere from outside the box, which is must seen from Foden and Guardiola or Rodri at times. Only 4 to 5 chances outside the box, but most of the times they were trying to outnumber Inter Milan. They were trying to spread their central defensive midfields, the center backs to the wider areas and get their whole player or some movement just straight in front of the goal. Yes, they were successful. They made it done. Haaland got chances. Gundogan had chances. Bernardo Silva, Foden, everyone had chances. There was a total of 60% possession with Man City and 40% that of Simeone Inzaghi's men. The expectancy of goals were quite high with a 2.35 average for them, whereas a 0.75 for Inter Milan, but 22 shots compared to that of 13 shots. But just have a look at the shots on target, guys. Only 5 shots and big chances created were 4. But the most amazing aspect, if we come down a little bit over here, is that the shots of 22 which were taken by City, there were blocked shots 7 and 5 just on target. This was quite undeniable. This was quite unacceptable because in the Champions League, if you are going to play, you are going to have such edges inside them. The relationism of Manchester City's players, the Blues against the deeper Blues, were not looking that convincing. Every time they were having a chance, the ball was straight into the hands of the Jan Sommer, the goalkeeper for Milan. Inzaghi was quite impressed with his performance against City. They were playing that too at Etihad, and they had just taken away a point. A draw means both the teams are getting a point each. That will be too convincing from him, and he will be looking forward to the next stages of this tournament. But the passes played over here from City were 651 compared to that of 437. But look at this stats, guys. This stat reveals everything about City's attack and Inzaghi's comparison. Jan Sommer was the man of the match. He did amazing saves. His plays, his saves just gave the wall, the defensive wall for Inter Milan. But just look at the attack, guys. Here in the attack, the Man City players were not looking that clusterphobic in outside the box for Man City. In number of passes, just look at Manuel Akanji doing 109 passes and Rodri doing 98 passes, but John Stones was still in the bench. Most of the times I could see in the second half, Akanji, Rodri, and Guardiola passing the ball to the right wings or the left wings, but there was no formation, no deep lying effort from either the Bernardo Silva or Phil Foden or any of their creative playmaker players, whereas that of Calhanoglu and Barella were much seen in their own defensive lineup strategy, along with the likes of Pretesi also. In the defensive part, we can take SRB was the best in all, along with Rodri, Guardiola, and then comes Bastoni. So in the defense also, Milan were doing good, but the happening duels, the most happening dribblings, Jack Grealish was the player. He had those wins against the duels, but unfortunately, the best of all, Jan Sommer was the decisive factor against Man City. So this was all about this Man City and Inter Milan. In the next aspect, which was there, is that Bologna had a very good, decent performance against Shakhtar Donetsk, but the most convincing is that both the goalkeepers, Riznik from Shakhtar Donetsk and Skorupsi from Bologna. What a save from Skorupsi in the first few minutes where he saved a penalty. And we both, the teams had a draw. Bologna were playing home against Shakhtar Donetsk, and the performance of Italiano Vincenzo against Marino Pusic was convincing, and they had a point each both in their first Champions League matches. So this was all about the match day 2, and all in all, a total of 41 goals have been scored in this season of Champions League in just 2 match days. So that is amazing. Lot of effort is being done. Many injuries are happening. Today also there are matches where Leverkusen is playing against Feyenoord. Alonso's first UEFA Champions League appearance as a manager. Atlanta against Arsenal. Madrid Atletico against Leipzig, and Monaco against Barcelona. We will be doing a watch along also on our live streams. Do join us, do give us a like, do share, do subscribe, and guys, thank you for your support. Start goaling. Bye bye.